Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Hooligan Report now. We're really raring along. And the predictions and the discussions are all out of the way now. We're on opening day of the season, so the real stuff has started to begin. Welcome, Cruyff,
Thank you for having me.
and welcome, Milang Panthers.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining me to chat about the opening round of fixtures. Who do you guys see? I think Friar Tuck in the match day one thread started a poll on who we reckon will be top after the first round of fixtures. So, who do you guys see as having the biggest win of the weekend?
Well, after just seeing the preview show before, it seems West Ham haven't beaten Arsenal in about 10 years, and we tend to do well against them. So I'm going to tip us to be top after a 4-0 win.
Okay. And Malang?
Yeah, I was thinking Arsenal as well. It's just all the other matches seem like they'll be like it's opening day. It's always hard to predict. So yeah, I think Arsenal
I mean,
more than likely.
I can't help but remember last season Chelsea going to Swansea, I think, and winning
Yeah, and we
5-0, I think it
predicted
was.
they would
6-0
be
or
like
whatever it was.
6-0.
Yeah.
6-0 or something? Yeah, so I mean, that's just sort of hanging in my mind. But if Costa's not fit to start, then perhaps Chelsea won't be as comprehensive. So yeah, maybe Arsenal. Be funny if it's Stoke after battering Liverpool again.
It'd be funny if Arsenal were second and Stoke was fifth. I'd be happy with that.
All right, well, let's get into it. We haven't managed to get Cookson or Wilston Raider on, so we won't be able to talk to them about the opening game of the season. But I'll chat to you guys about it. We've got Man United up against Spurs, and probably I can't remember in recent seasons such a big clash happening on the opening weekend.
No, they all seem to avoid each other like the bigger teams on the opening weekend. So yeah, it is one of the bigger ones, I think.
Yeah, sometimes you get a bigger game in the second or third match week, but we've played Liverpool a few times early on. But yeah, I can never remember facing one of the largest sides on opening day.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been big news in the last day or so that David De Gea will be sitting out of the game ahead of a proposed move to Real Madrid. Um, It's a bit interesting that United have left this so late to sort of clear the air on that. You know, whether he'll stay or go. Surely they would have given him a much earlier deadline.
Well, I think, well, from what I just saw an interview before with Van Gaal, and he said he only wants players who are focused 100% on their match in training. He said De Gea's not focused, and that's why he's been dropped. Whether that's because of Madrid or whatever, we don't know, but you'd assume. I think that's why he's not playing, and maybe Van Gaal did believe he was going to stay, but unless something's happened in the last 24 hours or something with between Madrid and De Gea or whatever, obviously it's caused some friction and resulting in him being dropped.
So obviously we'll probably see Romero starting for United, which is pretty surprising when you think when he first signed, the assumption was that he was basically third string behind Valdez and De Gea. And now all of a sudden he's starting against Spurs on the opening day of the season. Um, do we see this? Do we see United as likely going out and getting a new first string keeper if De Gea does leave? They wouldn't stick with Romero, would they?
But
Well,
they'd have to get another one, yeah.
it's interesting too though because Valdez is as good as gone if you believe what you read. So
I think
do
his
they
his kit was moved to the under 21s
reserves?
dressing room or
Yeah,
something. Yeah.
that's correct. So you wonder, do they go out and need to buy another keeper as well, just like a third string or whatever to cover his absence? But and then the question is, if they do sell De Gea, who do they buy?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they were linked with Loris early in the window, which is
Yeah.
quite funny considering the matchup we've got on opening day. But I wouldn't have thought Levy would sell to United first of all, and second of all sell someone like Loris after the season has started with so little time to get in a decent replacement of their own.
Well, I mean, with Levy, you never know what's going to happen. But I think if United bid, say, for argument's sake, £50 million, I think he'd sell him, and you'd be able to buy a decent replacement.
I mean, to be fair, they do have Vorm sitting on the bench, and he did prove to be a decent keeper for Swansea.
That's that's correct, and I think he did play a few times last season as well, but obviously not in the same class
Yeah.
as Lloris. So I mean, it's interesting. But is Lloris still injured? I'm not sure.
I think he injured his wrist in preseason, didn't he? not too sure if he's going to play. I think
He was,
he's listed as doubtful.
yeah, 3 weeks or something into the season. I think he was going to miss. But I mean, we'll see what happens. But it's a very interesting situation down at United, and you'd think if De Gea does go, it puts a big dent in where they'll finish at the end of the season, because the defense obviously isn't that strong. I think they're weak at centre back, and De Gea is a huge loss.
Elaine, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I was just thinking like, yeah, it's definitely the one position that you want to be rock solid on, because once you get that, that can control the back half of the team and really keep it rock solid. Like Speroni's been with us for 10 years, and once you get a good one, you don't want to let go. So it's going to be a interesting start to the season for United.
As an Arsenal fan, I know all about terrible keepers.
And as a Hull one, I know as well. I mean, I think for 3 or 4 seasons, we basically had a different lone keeper every year. So absolutely, you want that consistency in defence. And I think last season on the podcast, there are a number of times that we basically credited De Gea making pretty fantastic saves as keeping United in matches.
He won them games off his own hands, really.
Yeah. So it would be a huge loss for United this close to the season, and that's I can't understand why they've left it so late to make a call on whether he's staying or going. I mean, surely you say to him, either you sign a contract extension by this date, or you're not going to be playing.
Yeah, that's right. I agree.
And then organise a replacement.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, if you organise a replacement now, it's leaving it very late. I mean, what are we, the 8th of August, the first match day, and the window shuts in 3 weeks. I mean, you're cutting it fine.
And now all the clubs will know. They'll see United coming now. They'll hold out for a bigger bid because they know that United will get desperate.
And they know they have the money as well after the Di Maria sale too. So I mean, it's troubles brewing. I think down at Old Toilet.
Yep. So how do you guys see this game going, score-wise?
United 3-1.
Yeah, United 2-1.
They have a pretty good record against Spurs, I think. So, I mean, I can't see Spurs doing much at Old Trafford, really.
It'll be certainly interesting to see Spurs' early season form, considering Kane was such a revelation for them last year. But with those sorts of players, sometimes their second season isn't quite as good. They can't really meet the expectations of either continuing or improving on the previous season's form, and defences will have worked him out a bit more and all that sort of thing. So, I mean, Eriksen, Kane really drove that side early last season, so it'll be interesting to see if they can pick that form back up.
Definitely, and they got a few lucky wins as well. I remember 3 or 4,
wins,
3 or 4 90th minute plus winners to nick at 1-0 or something. It was from both Kane and Eriksen. It was ridiculous the amount of luck they were riding.
Yeah. Alrighty, then we'll move on to chat about that game that you guys suggested to be the highest scoring fixture of the weekend, and chat about Arsenal against West Ham, which is an interesting one for a couple of reasons. I mean, West Ham have essentially already started their season with a couple of rounds of Europa. Do you guys see that as perhaps affecting their form or their playing style going into this one?
I think it would affect maybe fatigue and whatnot. I guess it gives them a bit of extra match sharpness, but I mean, I think it would play a part having to play games already before your first match of the season, and against a side of Arsenal's caliber, with all due respect to West Ham, it would definitely make it tougher.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's gonna, at least now that they're out, now that's back on their main focus of the league. But wouldn't it be that much different to just playing friendlies? Didn't it just replace friendlies anyway, or?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose so. I guess it depends the quality of the players they have playing in there.
Because I think the first team they played in the first round was pretty, pretty basic team. But yeah, I don't know what they played in the last game where they got eliminated. So
I think they actually set the record for their youngest first team player in that first round of games, because it was such a meaningless game. They were basically using it as a friendly
against that Andorra team. Yeah.
Yeah, so they played some of their kids, I think.
Yep.
It will be interesting. And how about Arsenal? I think on the board, Cruyff, you said there was a chance that Sanchez would be back earlier than people think. I assume you didn't mean for this game, but what is the news on Sanchez?
I read something briefly yesterday that he'll might be back sooner than expected. I think he's back in training. So, as we've seen with Sanchez, he's full of determination driver, and I assume he wants to play, but Wenger will be resting him just to be safe. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him next week or match day 3 at the latest.
It's amazing with Sanchez because last season we kept watching him, expecting him to kind of drop off with fatigue and that sort of thing, but he stayed at a pretty consistent level throughout the season, really, in terms of work rate at least. I mean, he might not have scored as many goals later in the season, but his running off the ball and pressure on opponents certainly didn't seem to drop off.
I think he's just one of those players who are just naturally fit and they could miss X amount of months with the injury and get back into it straight away, sort of thing. It sort of reminds me of Frank Lampard.
Oh,
The
yeah,
guy,
it reminds me of myself as well, actually, to be fair.
Wally, Wally wasn't as athletic as Sanchez. I mean, he was so consistent and you'd barely see him get injured. He could run out 90 minutes continuously. I mean, it's very all credit to him as well. But yeah, I think he'll be back sooner than expected. But I don't think we'll miss him in this game anyway, considering Ox is in good form. Cazorla's been playing well. We've got Ozil, Ramsey, Coquelin, Giroud, Walcott. So I don't think we'll have too much trouble without him.
I saw some sort of speculation that Walcott might start up top as striker for you. Is there any truth to that, do you reckon, or you're still out Giroud?
I don't think it would be too far fetched to believe that. I mean, he did well. He set up Oxford's goal in the Community Shield against Chelsea. So, I mean, it's entirely plausible that he may well start. But maybe a physical side like West Ham, Giroud might be better to sort of hold off opponents and knock the ball around for players running onto it. But I mean, if Walcott starts, he's got the pace on his side to try and get in behind defenders and whatnot. And with the quality of Arsenal's midfield, it'd work too, I think.
Fair enough. And I mean, I've already kind of got your score predictions. So I think it was 4-0 from Cruyff and 3-0 from yourself, Milang.
Yeah, that'd be about it.
Yeah, so I'll probably go similar, maybe 3-1 or something like that. It'd be interesting to see because, I mean, I still remember a couple of seasons ago when Arsenal played Aston Villa on the opening day and were up 1-0, I think, and then ended up choking and losing 3-1.
Yes,
So
and
see
then
if
we went out
another-
and bought a certain Mesut Ozil.
Yeah, we'll see if another maroon and blue team can do the same sort of thing to them. Be interesting. Well, we might move on then to Norwich against Crystal Palace to chat about your side, Milang,
Yeah.
and also one of the promoted sides. So going into this game, I think you've got Speroni out injured.
Yeah.
Who do you reckon would start in his place?
It's really tough. I'm thinking it's going to be Hennessy, just because he's been at the club longer and he's played most of the pre-season. I think that's just going to be the deciding factor. It's really a 50-50 choice though, but it's going to be strange having someone other than Speroni there on opening day. So, but yeah, Hennessy should be good for it, I reckon. So.
How do you think Kabay will feature at Selhurst Park in the long term?
In the long term, hoping he's going to stay with us for a while. I think he loves working with Pardew, and Pardew loves working with him.
I think that's a big benefit as well. They know each other. They know how one knows how the other manages, the other one knows how he plays. So I think that's definitely a big positive between the two, and hopefully it works out well for you guys. I'm a big fan of Kabay.
Yeah, that's it. Like, I think as long as Pardew's there, I think Kabay will probably stay. So unless a big club came looking for him, or whatever. But yeah,
he's 28 or 29 now, isn't he?
Yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd think this might be sort of he'll start to wind down now, but probably finish. I'd assume he'd fulfill the full contract at Crystal Palace, barring
which is 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll be 32, 33. So
yeah.
But very good signing. Big fan of Yannick Bolasie too.
Yeah. And some doubt with him with injury it's not really injury; it's more fitness coming back from an injury. So. But if he doesn't play, we've got Punchin to go in there, or it's it's really good to have all this cover now. So
I was going to ask
yeah,
how you see your midfield lining up for this game. I think you mentioned on the board you've got quite a bit of quite a few choices in the midfield area now,
yeah,
and up forward as well, really.
yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I think Jedinak's gonna play as well. Like he should almost certainly play today. So
How would you line them up if you were boss?
oh, it's tough, isn't it?
Asking the big question.
Yeah, well, you'd have so if they're all fit, you definitely have it's tough, isn't it? You've got Zaha, Balassi on the wings, then Kabay, and it's tough because you want to fit. I love all these guys pretty much, so I just want to fit them all in there. But
Just play 11 midfielders.
Can we have 10 midfielders and a keeper, or
But then you
just
think,
rolling down the field?
which strikers are you going to start as well? Because you've got you've got
exactly.
your Glenn Murray, Dwight Gale, Fraser Campbell, Connor Wickham. I think you just signed as well.
I think Wickham's a good signing, and I think for a club the size of Crystal Palace, again with all due respect, for them to have that much depth, and it's not necessarily poor depth either. I think it's quite a good problem or situation to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be quite interesting to see what they're able to do. I mean they're trying to sell Gale or Murray. I think there was a bid of about 3 million rejected for Murray yesterday from
Yeah,
not sure who it was. Was it
it might have
West
been
Brom?
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth? That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
who it was.
yeah,
So it'll be interesting to see because you've got quite a lot of depth all around the park now. Would just
yeah.
be interesting to see how you manage the players' expectations and keep the dressing room happy.
That's it. It's tough juggling act to keep everyone happy when they're not going to be getting as much time as they used to. So
But then you think injuries are going to come in, suspensions, all that. So the
exactly.
players are going to get plenty of match time. Obviously, some more than others, but everyone should be well played, and the workload should be shared quite evenly. You'd imagine with the depth you have now.
Yeah, that's it. And especially if we have a bit of a cup run as well, which would just be able to rotate the squad nicely. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what about score predictions then?
It's tough because, Norwich, first game back in the Premier League, you think they're going to be really up for it. And away from home as well. I'm thinking maybe a 2-1 win to us, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw, to be honest. So
I'd go Palace 2-1 also.
Yeah, I was thinking 2-1 as well, so all in accord on that one.
yeah,
We'll move on to another promoted club then. This is one that's sort of capturing my heart a little bit with Bournemouth. I'm sort of going to keep an eye on them, see how they go, because their story is such a great story to listen to.
Down by the
Um,
seaside.
Down by the sea. Well, it's a great location. I mean, I think it's one of the only sand beaches in England. So you can go to your little pebble beaches at Brighton, or you can go along to a pretty nice beach at Bournemouth. So I think it'll be a pretty fun away day for travelling supporters.
yeah.
But they've got Aston Villa at home to start the season, which is quite an even game, I would think. I mean, I know Villa have made quite a few signings, but depending on how they settle in, could be a good chance for Bournemouth to start with 3 points.
Well, yeah, I mean, Villa's, as we saw last season, not too crash hot, and I mean, we absolutely demolished them in the FA Cup final. But I think as a promoted club, Villa would have been one of the clubs you wouldn't have mind drawing, especially at home as well.
Yeah, that's it. It's going to be like one of the best chances for them to get some points early, I reckon. They just keep the wave of momentum that they've brought from the championship, and at home to Villa, I think that they might even get a win today. So yeah.
Reminds me of Burnley starting the season. I mean, obviously against Chelsea, but they scored quite early in that game, and obviously they ultimately lost it. But that's that whole idea of keeping that momentum going. Of that, you've been promoted on the back of some quite free-flowing football, high scoring.
Yeah.
You try and start the season in the same way to sort of carry on that momentum into the Premier League.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
it'll be interesting to see. So,
But
sorry.
sorry to cut you off. I guess at the same time, though, the Championships of the Premier League is a big step up, and Villa could roll them at the stump of their fingers and smash them 3-0 or something. We just don't know.
Oh, they could, yeah. But it's all about the side. Bournemouth has to go in thinking that they can win it, because if they go in
Yeah.
thinking they're going to lose, then they've already
They
lost
go
it,
in, yeah. If they
basically.
go in trying to get a point, they're not going to get anything. So
Yeah, so what are our score predictions?
Milan can go first.
I'm thinking 1-0 Bournemouth.
I reckon a 1-1.
Yeah, I can say maybe a 1-0, but it depends how Villa go under
Probably
Sherwood
1-0 to the 90th minute, and then Villa score a heartbreaking goal.
Let's just predict a 5-all draw.
Yeah.
Why not? Something outrageous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Villa have pretty much bought a new starting 11, haven't they? So,
Well, they've lost Delph.
they've lost Delph and Benteke.
Sissoko left. Benteke's gone. They've brought in that Dutch guy. I forgot his name.
They've got Ayew, the brother of the one that's gone to Swansea.
Yep.
He's about the only signing I can remember the name of.
Yeah, it's that Dutch guy, as I said, whose name has escaped me. But yeah, you'd think it wouldn't surprise me if Villa go down, to be honest.
I mean, they've lost Fla as well, I think.
Yes, correct.
So it will be certainly an interesting season for Villa. I'll probably go 1-0 as well. But yeah, if Villa snatched a late goal, it would be wouldn't be surprising, but it'd be pretty heartbreaking for Bournemouth
It
fans,
would,
I
yeah.
think.
Mm.
So we'll move on to the third of the promoted clubs, and that's Watford, who are away at Everton. And I think Everton started last season against Leicester, so they've had a couple of promoted clubs in recent years, and they drew that one. So how do we see Everton going in this one?
Everton, I don't think Martinez will last the season, to be honest.
No.
I think there's a lot wrong at Everton, and for the players he has, I think they should be doing quite a bit better than the level they're at now. And I mean, at Goodison Park, you'd think they'd win, but I mean, I don't know much about Watford. All I know is Kiki Flores is the manager, but I mean, you'd think based on logic that Everton would win, but logic in football doesn't necessarily always work out. But I think the signing of Deulofeu is a positive one because he flourished there 2 seasons ago. But this is the same guy that wasn't good enough for Sevilla. So is that going to affect his confidence or what? But they've managed to hold on to Stones as well. Still got Barkley, Lukaku. So 2-0 Everton.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, about 2-1 to Watford. It's that thing though. The first game for a promoted team, they could either do really well on the adrenaline of it all, or
Just get
get
battered.
really nervous against a bigger club like Everton and get smashed. So yeah.
I think, in fairness to Deulofeu, I mean, Sevilla did win the Europa League, so they weren't exactly a team of mugs. So I think he will be able to draw on the confidence of how he did for Everton when he was there on loan a couple of seasons ago.
But it was great that he tore Gibbs apart one game at the Emirates and scored a beautiful goal. But
That was when they were on that really rich run of form, wasn't it?
I think it was late in the year, I think, or late in
When
the season.
Coleman also took the mickey out of you guys with a couple of tricky moves.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But I'd rather not talk about that. but yeah.
Well, Morales and
You go.
Sorry, Morales and McCarthy have also signed new deals, so that's probably a
Yeah.
positive for Everton.
They still have Stones to start the season. I mean, it doesn't look like they're going to give in to Chelsea's demands. With Everton, Scott, and they finally dropped Howard and got Joel Riblas as their first choice now. But with the squad Everton have, they have I think they have the quality to finish in the top 10.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. I do agree that Martinez is probably one of those managers in danger of being sacked. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they go. I think he's mentioned that he wants to make another 2 or 3 signings, so it's a bit odd that they brought in Deulofeu so early in the transfer window, and now they've left their other signings so late.
Yeah.
You'd think you'd want to bed them in, but
Yeah, wrap it up and get them in before the season starts. Yeah.
I might go a 2-1 win to Everton, I think, just giving them the edge because they're at home. But it's certainly one of those games that could go either way, I think.
Yep.
Another big one to look forward to is the repeat of the 6-1 battering to end last season as Stoke take on Liverpool. And I saw an interesting stat about Stoke the other day, which was that in their squad they have more Champions League winners than Liverpool, Manchester City or Arsenal.
Wow.
Wow.
But then,
which is a
how much did those Champions League leagues actually
yes,
play? That's what you need to ask. But
yes,
yeah, I get what you mean.
and how much, and they wouldn't have cost very much either. I think they were,
Well,
cast offs, but
Bojan was youth and Afellay, I think, arrived on a free. So
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean,
But it's still
yeah,
a very interesting stat.
yeah,
I think,
I agree.
yeah. It says a lot about Stoke's ambition. I think they kind of they seem to have brought a lot of players in from either Barcelona or Real Madrid. I think they had someone coming in from Real Madrid recently, and it seems obvious that they're sort of targeting that style of play and bringing in players who'll suit that style of play. So it's a positive move from them to sort of move away from the hoofball of Tony Pulis and try and play a bit more on the ground attractive football.
Yeah, there isn't so much hate from anymore, is there? Because everyone wanted them to get relegated, like start of last season.
Yeah.
Everyone wanting them to
I
get
still hate them.
relegated.
Cannot
I
stand
still
them.
hate
Can't wait till they're relegated.
them. Doesn't seem as bad as it used to be, though. So.
Yeah.
I agree.
Especially if they keep battering Liverpool the way they do.
Yeah,
It's
they
always
can stay in the league as long as they want.
How do we see this one panning out? I mean, it's interesting stories on both sides. Benteke probably starting for Liverpool, and a few other decent signings they've made. So
I think a 2-2 because the Britannia isn't an easy place to go even when you're in form. So I mean, I think they beat Chelsea last year. They tend to do quite well at home, so I think a 2-2. And to be honest, I think as a Liverpool, if you're a Liverpool fan, you take a draw.
They would, yeah. They would take a draw. Yeah, I'm thinking Liverpool 2-0, I think.
yeah, I'm not sure on this. It's another one of those ones that could go either way, and I think as you were saying earlier, Milang, I mean, opening round fixtures are always pretty tough to predict.
Yeah.
I might go 2-1 to Stoke, but yeah, it could go either way, I think. We'll move on then and chat about the champions who are taking on Swansea at home. Few interesting stories for Chelsea with doubts over Costa's ability to start the first game of the season, and also the fact that they haven't really made that many improvements to the squad. They've brought in Falcao on loan, but I don't know how much you can call that an improvement.
But when you look at their squad, though, did it need improving?
I'm not sure if it needed improving, but the danger is always that you can look at a squad that did quite well the previous season and assume that it'll do just as well this season without any changes. But
Yeah, you got to keep moving forward,
Yeah.
I think. You can't just stay still and hope that you'll, keep playing like you did last year. You got to keep improving, I think.
That's true, but I think even with Mourinho at the helm, I don't think they'll lose any motivation or get complacent. And
Sure,
but I do agree that you should always be looking to improve your squad, but they're linked with that left back that Chef keeps going on about, that Baba Ramadan. I think the fees agreed, so Baba.
Yeah, but yeah. I think he's just gonna be backup though, from the sounds of things. But I think the danger for Chelsea is standing still, like we're saying, because I mean the sides around them have made improvements.
Yeah.
Arsenal's brought in Czech. United's brought in quite a few players, Schweinsteiger, Darmian, and that sort of thing. And City have brought in Sterling and Delph. Whether that really helps push them on, I'm not so sure. And even Liverpool brought in, Benteke, Klein, and that sort of
Firmino.
thing. So there is the danger that the window could close and their rivals could suddenly be a lot more competitive compared to Chelsea last season.
I think that one thing they really need is another good centre midfielder.
Yeah.
Because they've got Matic and Cesc, but Matic goes down, they've got to put Ramirez or Mikel in there.
And I think Matic seemed quite prone to getting yellow cards last season and missed a few games through suspension. And if Cesc does his standard sort of half a season of good form and then his form falls off a cliff, then they'd want the title wrapped up by January, like they essentially did last season, and that might not happen this year. Do you have any score predictions for the game?
3-1 Chelsea, obviously.
4-1 Chelsea, I think.
Yeah, I might go 4-0 Chelsea.
They've scored 4 and 5 goals the last 2 games against Swansea, so
Yeah, it'll be a pretty open game, I suspect. So it'll be a good one to watch. The final game on the Saturday is Leicester up against Sunderland, and and the only reason I bring this one up is to see whether Leicester can continue their form that they ended last season with, or whether they'll slip back into bad habits. And
Well, they have a Mia in charge now. I don't think that'd be a good game to watch again, with all due respect. But I mean, it's you just wonder what Ranieri will do, how he'll have them playing, how he'll line them up. Will he continuously alter his formation and lineup? And then Sunderland, they're just sort of that nothing club in the Premier League who managed to survive year in, year out with just.
They're basically the new Wigan.
Yeah, you just wonder how they haven't been relegated yet. They're still there, but I mean, and Advocate is another one who a lot of people don't have lasting a season. So it's just, you just wonder what will happen there.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I hadn't even thought of that aspect, but I mean, Ranieri against Advocat is basically the two managers who everyone says are basically past it, and not really the sorts of managers who will be able to keep their sides up. So it'll certainly be interesting to see how they both go over the course of the season. I think with respects to Leicester, at least, their owners have a bit deeper pockets than Sunderland's and would be prepared to sack Ranieri if things aren't going well this season, as opposed to last season with Pearson.
Still a bit of a payout, though. Say he signed even a 3-year contract at, let's say, £60,000 a week. I don't know how much that is over 3 years, but that's still a bit to outlay for a club of Leicester's size.
Yeah. So score predictions?
0-0.
Oh, wow. I'm going to go 1-0 Leicester.
Yeah, probably something like that. Maybe 2-0 Leicester. So we'll move on to probably the last... Well, actually, we'll cover the last two games. Newcastle against Southampton, on at the same time as Arsenal against West Ham. Southampton has Europa this season, so it'll be interesting to see how they can cope with the extra demands of that. Newcastle, you'd hope, have improved since last season, but I mean, who really knows?
Well, it's not hard to go up from what they were.
So how do we see this one?
I think that'll be quite a good game, particularly being at St James's Park. And it'll be interesting to see how Steve McLaren goes with his first official match in charge. But if Newcastle win, it wouldn't surprise me. But you'd have to look based on last season. You'd have to tip Southampton, but I don't think it's clear cut, and I actually can't give you a prediction, so I do apologise.
Apology not accepted.
I'm thinking Newcastle will get the win today. So yeah.
So that'll be an interesting one. I think it's another one of those 50-50 ones.
2-1 Southampton. I've done it.
Yeah. I think 1-0 Southampton. Be interesting to see how their new signings settle in, but they haven't sold as many players as last season, so the consistency is still there to an extent. They've still got Pele up top. They've still got Wanyama in midfield and Tadic and those sorts of players, and Long and Mane and so on.
They've brought in Jordi Clasie from
he's
PSV,
a good one. I like that one.
Sorry, so it's I think Koeman knows what he's doing. So
yeah,
and I think a lot of neutrals think I hope they have another good season.
Yeah, absolutely. And the final game to cover is Man City against West Brom, which is in the early hours of Tuesday morning. It's away at the Hawthorns, but I suspect we're all thinking Man City should win that pretty comfortably.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see. I presume Sterling will start because Nasri and Silva are both doubts for the game. So it'd be hard not to see Sterling starting. Do we see him sort of hitting the ground running or taking a little while to warm up for them?
I think City will knock them off, but bearing in mind that Tony Pulis is in charge, so West Brom might be defensively well set up, but I think the firepower from City will be too hard to contain. And if Yaya is back to his old self, he'll just absolutely boss the midfield and push people away like they're not even there. And I think Sterling will be quite hard to contain too with his movement and pace.
How long do we see Sterling needing to score a first goal for them? Will he get one on debut or take a couple of weeks?
If not today, I think he'll have it by match day 3.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, he did score, within 2 minutes against was it Real? No, it was Roma, wasn't it?
Roma, yeah.
On the tour. So he seems to have hit the ground running in pre-season. It'll be interesting to see how he goes in the main league. I'll probably go 2-0 to City. I think West Brom will probably contain them a little bit, but not completely.
Yeah, 2-0 City, I think.
Yeah, I third that option.
And in other news, we've already had football kicking off in the lower leagues, and talking about the Championship, we've had Brighton beat Nottingham Forest 1-0 overnight in a
Yeah.
pretty unimpressive game from the sounds of the reports. Loire scoring the only goal in the 50th minute, I think it was. Um, so I mean, it's a good start for Brighton. It's a good start for Gus Poyet on the board. He'll be happy about that, but he'll probably be hoping they don't stay in first for too long because he doesn't want them going up to the Premier League, getting tarnished with the plastic. Um, who do you guys see as the favourites for promotion from the Championship?
I'm thinking Derby at the moment is probably the favourite with Middlesbrough. So, yeah, or maybe Hull, but
No. I think
average.
Derby are probably going to romp the division in my mind at least. They've made some pretty impressive signings.
Yeah,
Well, Middlesbrough made the playoffs this last season, didn't they?
They
Yeah.
did, but they had Bamford on loan, who's now obviously at Crystal Palace.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know much about the Championship, but you think the demoted teams or relegated teams from the Premier League would have a good chance of going back up. But having said that, I hope QPR are nowhere near that. Obviously,
that's my
maybe Hull should be around there. Maybe if they've managed to retain a lot of their squad, and I can't remember the third side who went down. Burnley. Oh, they lost Ings, so that's a bit of a blow for them too, I guess. But I don't know. Yeah, Derby, I guess, based on the little things I know and based on what Malang said, and I'll say Hull and Nottingham Forest because I like them.
I think QPR will be interesting to keep track of purely because they've brought in Massimo Luongo. So from an Australian perspective, it'll be interesting to see how he goes at a bit of a higher level than he was playing at Swindon. Burnley, I don't think they've made too many additions. I mean, it sounds like a similar story to the last time they went down, where the owners kept them up for a season, didn't spend a huge amount to keep them in the Premier League, and then when they went back down, you'd have expected them to sort of spend a bit of that money to get back up, but they ended up selling a couple of players and milling around in the Championship for a few years before going back up. So they're an interesting one. I'm actually surprised that their owners haven't come under more scrutiny for that sort of style, but I guess they're not really, leeching the club of money, so the supporters aren't too unhappy. But it's a little bit similar to Blackpool, but obviously not to the same extent. For us, it'll be interesting because we have sold a couple of our better players. We've sold James Chester to West Brom for 8 million, and Brady to Norwich for 7 million, and we've released a couple of other players who the supporters were kind of keen to keep on in Paul McShane and Liam Rosenior and Stephen Quinn as well. But I mean, just yesterday we've signed Moses Odubajo from Brentford.
What a signing! That will absolutely light up the Championship. I cannot believe he managed to beat all the other clubs off and get his signature.
In fairness, you joke, but there was a lot of rumours from Brentford that Everton had bid for him, and he'd snubbed Everton to come to us.
You guys are living the life.
But I think he's already written himself as a fan favourite after his comments upon the move by saying that he couldn't wait to move to a bigger club, which is always great to see because the Brentford fans were just melting on Twitter and everyone had a good laugh with that. But we've brought in Ryan Taylor from Newcastle, so if he can stay fit, that'll be a pretty astute signing, I would say. And we've brought in two from your mob on loan, Cruyff, in Chuba Akpom and Isaac Hayden. So it'll be interesting to see how they go this year.
This is nice for Chuba to finally score
I hope so.
a professional goal, but I wish him all the best and hopefully it flies you back up to the Premier League.
Yeah, well, if he can score on debut, I think that'd settle his nerves and our nerves a bit for the season. So absolutely hoping that will be the case. My three to go up would probably be Derby, us, and I might say Wolves just as a bit of a left field one because they ended last season quite strongly. Obviously, they've been promoted from League One in recent years, but not that long ago they were in the Premier League. So they've brought in a couple of decent signings. I think they've brought in Benfica and Afobe from you guys, Cruyff, on a permanent.
Yes, the name rings a bell.
And I think he actually scored quite well for them last season in half a season. I think he had something like 12 and 20 or something like that. So, yeah, I might back them as a bit of a smoky to go up. But yeah, that's about it for the championship, I think. Any closing thoughts from you boys?
Go the Gunners. Football's back. My body is ready.
Football is
Yeah,
back. I can't wait.
it's always a good day when you wake up on opening day. So.
Yeah.
What a weekend. Don't need women anymore. The football's back.
Yep, exactly. I mean, it's been a very long 3 months, so it's good that it's back.
Definitely can't wait. The ads on Fox Sports have been making me jizz.
And that Henri ad is pretty phenomenal from Sky Sports.
Yeah.
Where is in all the old
Right.
moments.
Well, they had a documentary on Premier League legends before, and it was unreal. My eyes were just fixated on the TV. The king.
Well, thanks very much for joining me, boys.
Thank you for having us.
No worries.
No worries, and thanks everyone for listening along. Hope your team gets a good result this weekend.
Unless
And
you're Liverpool or Tottenham.
or West Ham, I would hope.
Or West
Um, so until next week, we'll see you on the forums.